I want to start by saying what a joy it is to see you all here. We brag all the time about our graduates, and to have the opportunity to talk with you and hear about your stories is just a fabulous experience for all of us. So thank you, each and every one of you, for coming back. I will love to start with some thank yous for the people who have put this together. High on that list is Professor Emerita Marian Nesbitt. I know she's not here, and I'm going to repeat this tomorrow, but I just want you to know the incredible work that she did to bring about the tribute to Mary Mendez. Marian worked with Lisa Fiore, Dr. Lisa Fiore, who right is here, Ellen Jackson, who is right there, and Charlie Eaton, who is right there, to host this celebration here on campus. Mary always demonstrated her love for Leslie, and this is our chance to, again, express our love for her. I want to thank very much Jill Zemba and Catherine Meyer. And Brian Trumbull, who organized this vitamin-enriched alumni weekend with a full array of opportunities, not only to hear about Leslie, but to experience Leslie, and the community of people who call this their alma mater, and also so many of you here who call this your professional home. We really hope you'll have the chance to meet and talk with each other. Tim Grills and Fabio and Phil. Phil was hiding back there a little while. We thank them very much for this dinner, complete with cheesecake, which is just wonderful. I hope that you'll take the opportunity to just wander over and back at your leisure and just help yourself to what they've prepared. I want to thank Albert Myers and the Alumni Council for celebrating our alumni. You'll see that tomorrow night. You'll see it throughout the weekend. But I think it's just such a wonderful bringing together of people so that we can celebrate the accomplishments of our alumni. So thank you, Albert. I want to thank Theo Hartlett and Abe Rubabia, who are working behind the scenes on our IT, both before and during this event. I want to thank the terrific people in advancement, Audrey and Charlie again, for reaching out to alums and engaging them, to our marketing and communications people. I was just talking to Ben and Allie, and I don't see Karen here yet, but these are the people who just about a week ago were filming graduation, so we're really pleased to have them back to do this. And really for all of the people who will run tours, showcases, actually the tours I think will be in the rain, so it'll be particularly interesting. Yoga, mindfulness, games, dance lessons, speakers, and all the other ways to experience Leslie over the next 2 days. And of course, the panel of faculty that sits to my left here. At the time we organized this, it seemed really appropriate to call it a fireside chat. When I walked across campus and it was 90, not so much. But it's really the spirit in which we're coming together to just talk as friends about all the exciting things that are happening here at Leslie. So I am incredibly grateful to all of them. They are the magic of the evening. And so I am going to turn this over to Maureen Cregan-Kenby, who is going to be the moderator of this panel. And again, I thank you all for being here.
Let's adjust this for the height-challenged people in the room. Okay, so why don't we also give a thanks to the most hardworking, committed president out there. My name is Cregan Kenkes, and I'm the chair of the Teaching and Learning Department, which houses several programs, many of which you'll hear about this evening and likely tomorrow. Are you as excited to be with live people as we are? We're so incredibly excited about this weekend. And so my job, as Janet said, is to be moderator. I suspect that I was nominated for this job because, as my students will say, I hate long speeches unless they're my own. So I am going to be introducing each one of my esteemed colleagues and also reminding them of the time limits. And we'll start. First up, we have Trina Baker. She's the department chair at LA+D in the Department of Animation.
Hi, thank you so much. I have a little bit of a dog and pony show for you. So, you asked, I don't know, can you hear me okay without the, great. So one of the questions was the cutting edge technology, which I gotta figure out how to make it a little softer here so I can talk over it. Okay, cutting edge technology. What are we doing with our students right now? We're teaching them the newest technology in animation. So, and what you're going to see here in this demo reel behind me is a lot of different departments. So one of the things that I think is really exciting about all of LA+D is that you'll see that we come together and we coalesce and we really help each other out. And when I think about it, I think of one of my favorite quotes from the Jungle Books, also another animation, which is, the strength of the wolf is the pack, and the strength of the pack is the wolf. And that's how we are at LA+D. Each one of our departments helps the other out. So you'll see here that we have illustration. Our illustration students often take animation, and etc., back and forth. So you'll get a little bit of everything. I just want to get my notes here, and I'll talk fast. So, what are we doing to meet the needs of our students? Well, we have amazing partnerships. We have partnerships with studios in the Boston area, and our graduating class just placed 4 seniors before they even graduated. So we also have seniors, we have some seniors over here who are working at Northern Light Studio, graduates, sorry. And they're working independently at Co-Craving Studios, and we have them at Fablevision, at WGBH. We have such good partnerships that every year these studios call me up and they say, who do you have this year? Who are you going to send to us? So we have been placing our students in those different studios around the Boston area for the last 3 or 4 years. So it is, and we will continue. So here you see some VFX, you'll see some game, some animations that we had in 3D and 2D, and if I had all night, I would explain to you all of the cool things that are happening behind me. And it's flashy and cool and bright. So, I want to wait till the very last part of this, if I can, bear with me, it's only 5 minutes long, we only have 5 minutes to talk. Because the very best part, I'm going to speed it ahead. You can always watch some more of this. Okay, all right. So I'm going to stop it right here, because what I think the most exciting thing is that we bring to Leslie, and the animation department has, is our community that we build together. And I think that one of the things that we really teach is collaboration. And the other question for tonight was, how are we best preparing our students? We prepare them by developing a community for them. And our students, I'm going to show you a animation in the works that I have that is that I'm working with several of my fantastic animators that are my fantastic alum, if you could stand up. grade alum are freelancing for me, and while they're freelancing for me, they also we're working with interns from the department. So we're building a bridge from the classroom to the freelance animator outside of the classroom. And in doing so also, we are creating a network and a community that's going to last a lifetime in animation. So this little film that I'm about to show you, right here, Ball Lightning, is the one I'm just going to show you the first minute or so of it. And this is a film that I'm working with 12 recent grads, alum, interns, some interns from the local high school working on this. So animation is a team sport. And what's really interesting too is if you see that this looks like hand-drawn animation. I started out the whole talk with lots of technology, right? But we're going back to the basics. It's really about drawing, about color, about composition, about all of the things we learned together. And you're seeing here the work of, this is the mark of Willow Machado. Then we have the animation of Allie and Amy and Hannah back there. And they will take a piece of animation and we'll pass it along virtually to each one of us. And each one of the artists will make a mark on it and pass it back. So, and then this is the last part of it. I can't hear any of it, I'm sorry.
The fire.
There we go.
Crash.
And this is done on oil paint on canvas. So we're going back to really not technical at all, sort of very, very analog. So we've gone full spectrum from high technology to super analog.
Behind a wall.
And what we do from that is build this amazing community. As soon as we have just a few more seconds,
Handed to strangers.
it's an uplifting film.
In a word I did not know. Refugee.
So the whole reason I wanted you to go to the next few is all of the people that have been working in here. So I have all of these animators, all have a Leslie connection. All of the faculty that are in part of this have a Leslie connection. Every name you see here is connected to Leslie. It goes on and on. This is what we do really well. We make community, we make connections, and we help each other out. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Dr. Catherine Barone, the Department Chair of Psychology and Applied Therapies.
So I've been at Leslie for 32 years and 12 years as the chair of the undergraduate psychology and applied therapies. I often am the historian on campus. The administrators here will know that I am often citing past presidents, past provosts, past deans, and past students. At the end of August, for many years, faculty in the undergraduate school will get an email from our admissions chair, our admissions department head, saying, here are the touchstones for this group, the touch points. And very often it was to show us that we had no clue about the generation that we were bringing into the classroom. I would talk Brady Bunch, and they would look at me like, stop it. To say nothing of the international students who had none of these touch points, of course. It was a fun reminder, but COVID really shifted the whole landscape. So it wasn't, we shared so little with the students who were coming in the past few years, except the experience of our lives in crisis. As the head of psychology, of course, I'm very concerned about the whole student, especially the undergraduate, 17-year-old, walking into a community that prides itself on community. And so these touchstones are very different for these students. They start with social media problems, like fear of missing out, anger storms on social media that even a kind word can't interrupt. And they continued in the sort of the high school at home, the hybrid educational settings. My colleagues who teach teens were telling me that even though they rushed to do engaging online pedagogy and flipped classrooms and studied as much as they could, just like we did, that their students were many times disengaged, disaffected. We also found here at Leslie that in the beginning of COVID, that our students didn't have the access to technology that we wished they had, and they were not the digital natives that we thought they were. We've lost some ground. Students used to, and this sounds depressing actually, but it's not, it's hopeful. It's gonna get more depressing before it gets hopeful. Sorry. Optimistic pessimist. According to the Surgeon General's recent advisory, teenagers are especially lonely these days, even if they're on social media. So that online lectures, flipped classroom style, with a chance to review and repeat, doesn't engage them because they're watching a video. Students have told us, well, I could learn that online. You're not actually learning what we want to teach you online, which is how to listen to another person's pain. Even at the undergraduate level, we're very interested in their building of empathy. So now our students have less experience in extracurriculars, they have less experience in the community, they have less experience in volunteer work, they have less experience in collaboration with their peers and less experience in problem solving. This impacts so many things in their college education, from group work, which Leslie excels at, to internship searches, which we also used to excel at. So we've had to re-examine what learnings we've had from COVID. How do we develop more skills with less internships? Because our students weren't able to find them at the height of COVID, or they were remote. Can you imagine? The suicide crisis line was doing text. I don't know about you, but if I were in that kind of crisis, I'd want to talk to a real live person. So we needed to teach many more basic skills and set up more guideposts to do things more concretely to build the skills that students need to reach their goals and our outcomes. So in trying to say what we're doing now, this is the more positive side. One thing we've learned, and this was apparent to all of us before COVID, who comes to Leslie might be students who see themselves in the clients they want to serve. And that means they have challenges that they're working on when they walk in the door. We embrace that. We have faculty with challenges that they were working on when they walked in the door. Me first. No. My colleague from the grad school agrees. So one of the first things that faculty brought to us is we need to decrease the stigmatization that classic textbooks are doing with our students. Abnormal psychology. We were behind the curve, actually. So this is a new change, but we were behind the curve, to calling it understanding psychological diagnoses, because when more than half of the population has anxiety and depression, it's not abnormal. But it could be diagnosed, and there could be treatment. As I tell students all the time, there's good treatment for social anxiety. We needed to increase our diversity and inclusion because Leslie is not the place that it was when I walked in the door 32 years ago. A women's college, mostly white, quite moneyed. Great students who would come and sit in my office and have me tutor them in research methods, which I could because we were that small. We had a class at the point in time when the board decided to go co-ed that was 456. I told you I knew the history. And the board said, that's why. So we changed the name of abnormal. We changed the name of characteristics of children and youth with special needs based on our students to equity and inclusion for children with youth. Doesn't that sound better? It's a positive, right? We updated our online curriculum for new EDIJ pedagogy and content because we hadn't touched it since 2010. It's sort of a static curriculum. We've made changes because of COVID and because we wanted to engage our students with more skills before they left Leslie to all of our Bachelor of Science majors, 3 majors that have multiple internships. And we've decided that students could choose to take more skills classes if they wanted to. This is what they were doing during COVID. So you can't find an internship, let's have you take family interventions and applied group dynamics. You want to go into substance abuse counseling and you can't find an internship right now, that'll be perfect. It'll at least give you the content and the case practice. It allows for that all-important maturation. So this is a difference I've seen over 32 years. There used to be students walking in my door, some of you alums might be those students, sorry I don't recognize you on site, I would say 75%, I can look at Nathaniel and we might agree on this, 75% were ready when they left in senior year. And now that number has changed. Now there are more students I'm saying, I hope you have a couple more years in my head. So internship in senior year might just be fine. So that was a lesson we had to learn from COVID, that we could do more with less. We have new curricula planned that address students' interest and skill set needed for careers in mental health. Leslie's known for its mental health programs. And at the undergraduate level, our students are being asked to do more and more and more what master's level students used to be asked to do. So this shocked me at first. It also makes me think that those skills classes are much more needed. That content, that self-reflection, that is a Leslie hallmark. We do this better than most every other place where you will see theories of counseling. And it is not our counseling class. It does not engage your role. So we're developing an addiction certificate for undergrads. They show great interest in this. We're developing a specialization for the undergraduate counseling major in addictions. We're exploring a dual degree program with our grad school counterparts. This is a new area, but it's an area where our students already are working in the field. The other things are things we've lost during COVID. The faculty lunches in the dining hall. We used to eat there a lot. I'd see all my colleagues on the Doble campus in the dining hall. And students would join us. So we have to be more planful about that, I think. Table talks. How do you get to where you want to go at Leslie? We have to do some new work because we're undergrad. Most of our students are interested in some kind of helping profession when they leave. We have to do new work with the counseling center and probably advising. And Janet, you might appreciate this, to help our students figure out how to resolve issues with their calling the president's office. In fall, all of our syllabi will have a, please call the SIAT chair if you have not been able to resolve issues with your faculty member. We are planning new social interaction events. We're cognizant of the loneliness. Faculty have felt it too, right? We'd like to see more of our students hanging out on campus. We have to invite them to things. That's what we've discovered. We had a great pizza party at the Sacco's Bowling Center up in Davis Square. Students wrote that it was the community they'd been looking for since they got to Leslie, and I'm thinking, bowling? Okay.
And pizza.
And pizza. Great pizza. Oh, every kind of pizza. Anyways, that's the end of my talk. It is not everything we're doing because faculty are always engaging students individually. Faculty did a tremendous amount of support during COVID that qualified as quasi-counseling for their students just to hold them afloat. So I'd like to give a lot of credit to the faculty in my department who were telling me what they were doing, and I'd be like shaking my head going, if we ever had to pay you for the hours you put in, it would just not happen. So, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next, we have Dr. Jason Butler, Department Chair, Expressive Therapies.
Does this help? Can it help? Yes, help? Okay. All right, I'll use it then. I feel like I'm gonna step into a performance role. We drama therapists, we can get a little bit dramatic. Just ask the provost. It is my great pleasure to be the department chair in expressive therapies in the Graduate School of Arts and Social Sciences. If you're not familiar with the Graduate School of Arts and Social Sciences, it is the most bizarre and amazing school that we have that I've ever heard of. It's got expressive therapies, counseling psychology, mindfulness, and creative writing. This unique collection of programs, some of which are only seen at Leslie, that are really amazing and exciting, all at the graduate level. Expressive therapies, we have over 500 students in the graduate expressive therapist program. I'm looking at Robin, who's one of our admissions folks, who helped bring all of those people into the program. Studying art therapy, music therapy, dance therapy, drama therapy, and expressive art therapy, which is a kind of therapy that was started here at Leslie 50 years ago. So there's nowhere else in the world that has undergraduate expressive therapies, that has all of the specializations at the master's level, and that also has a PhD program in expressive therapies. We are one of a kind internationally. And we're known for that. That is one of our claims to fame. Whenever I travel internationally at conferences, people know Leslie and know us because of our graduates and the good work of the faculty that we have here. Everything all right? Got a couple beep beeps. I have a little note card with some thoughts on it. It's a Rolodex. I know. I have stacks of them. Brady Bunch? Brady Bunch.
There you
go. In expressive therapies in 2013, we started a low residency program. The low residency program allows us to have students from around the world who come for 3 weeks during the summer, and the rest of the time their program is all online. So about half of our students now in expressive therapies are low residency students who come during July. There is a mass of expressive therapies happening here on campus. It's pretty exciting for those 3 weeks. And our PhD students come at that time. Right now we've got students from 45 different states. We've got students from over 13 different countries who are represented in the program, and all walks of life and backgrounds. There is a unique kind of student that shows up to Leslie, as you might imagine, for expressive therapies, because not everyone thinks of expressive therapies. So because we had a low residency program in 2013, we already had modules and plans for how to teach online, for how to bring our courses and our programs online. So when the pandemic hit, we were already ready to go to switch most of our classes into online formats. So unlike our other peers, unlike other places around the world, we were able to almost seamlessly transition our courses into an online program during that period of time. And as I'm sure you've all read about, the mental health needs have increased astronomically through the pandemic. I don't know about you, but I've felt the need myself for more mental health, especially after the isolation and those components. So the need for mental health practitioners, be that counselors, social workers, expressive therapists, has greatly increased. And one of the unique things is that we're finding that it's a different kind of impact that people have experienced. And to address that different kind of impact, we need a different kind of therapy. We need a different kind of way of engaging the broad spectrum of people who are out there. So being able to tap into the arts, being able to tap into ways of engaging with things that people are struggling with rather than just talking about them. Let's engage, show me a picture that represents what you're feeling. If your anger was an animal, what animal might that be? Just tell me a story. It can be about anything. And then we can see how that relates to your life and your lived experience. So not only are we prepared to do online education, but also we're helping to educate people how to do this kind of therapy, how to do this unique kind of therapy. And they're learning how to do it virtually as well. You might also be aware that mental health services are so much virtual now. People don't want to drive to go see a therapist anymore. They want to log on to Zoom. So we have been pioneering in ways of, I don't know that I like that word. We've been at the forefront of finding ways of doing art and arts-based interventions virtually, and to find ways that we can actually harness the skills and tools that we already know about in the expressive therapies in that virtual way. So it's very exciting to see what's happening. It's very exciting to see how things are moving forward. Like many places, we don't, Leslie doesn't have a robust, at this moment, research support system. That we're not a research institution in that sense. But I want to share some of the research labs just quickly that faculty and students are creating within the expressive therapies. There is a lab, we had a lab just looking at COVID. Right now there's a dance movement therapy lab that is looking at the translation of dance movement therapy to online and the use of technology in relationship to dance movement therapy. We have a pedagogy lab where most of our faculty are involved in looking at how we do better, how we teach better, how do people actually become quality expressive therapists. Being the only place in the world that has all the specializations together, we're uniquely suited to be a place that does that. We have a lab that's looking at disabilities and disabilities in relationship to expressive therapies and therapy, but with a unique perspective on therapists who bring and come with their own disabilities, who come with their own different abilities in the spaces. So not just looking at how we treat others, but what about being more inclusive in our own community for people who have different abilities. We have a circus lab. That's how do we bring circus into creative spaces.
Circus.
I have a lab for physical therapy and drama therapy, helping physical therapists find more creative ways of engaging with that experience of pain with individuals. So instead of saying, is it a sharp pain or is it a this, to say, oh, if your pain was an animal, what animal might it be? And so if someone says it's a bear versus it's an octopus versus it's a little something, it gives the physical therapist a lot more information about how to engage with the person. We're also doing a lab with some physical therapists where we just had them embody a client that they all knew and were familiar with, which surprisingly was new for them. They'd never even thought about doing that. Like, oh my goodness. It feels like this. Oh, it must be like this for this person. So just engaging in these creative sandbox places for expressive therapies is something that we are moving forward with. Some of our faculty have received some substantial grants and are working with some of our partner institutions, UMass Boston, UMass Worcester, and American Repertory Theater Company. I'm thinking of some of the places that we've been called into to support and to assist people in doing it. I'm getting so excited. I'm so excited. I'll just wrap up by saying there's a lot of publications that are also coming out of this, and most, if not all, of the publications have students as the primary author. Or at least within the authorship. But for the most part, these labs are creating spaces for students to be able to create expertise and then to publish based on the work that they're doing. we're hopeful about the future, about what comes next, about what else comes out of this. Personally, I'm incredibly touched at the struggles in the world, and so many of the difficulties that I'm experiencing, that others are experiencing, that we see when we turn on the news. And we need those spaces for creative approaches and other ways of seeing the things and hearing the things and engaging with the things. So to be part of Leslie, where we're at the forefront of the expressive therapies, tools that help us do those kinds of things, just makes me feel incredibly honored to come to Book every day. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you for those things. We're going to switch back over to our wonderful screen here for Dr. Robert McGrath, who is Associate Professor in Business Management.
Thank you. My name is Bob McGrath, and I'm going to be trying to get my slides up. I'm going to just try to get my slides up. 1 second. While I'm doing this, I'll just confess that I have two identities as I present myself to you tonight. One is that of faculty member, proud faculty member of 16 years. The other is alumni. So go Lynx. That's what I was saying. Just go there whenever done. Go Lynx. All right. I think if I hover over this,
You got it.
it's going to give me that.
You got it.
And then, okay. So the material I want to present to you is what we're actually doing on the ground in the undergraduate business management program. And one of the themes that I want to focus on, which is very, very germane to the days that we're talking about, is entrepreneurship. I want to talk to you about entrepreneurship and where that fits, just a couple of places where that fits. Not exhaustively, but I'm going to show you how that fits into the curriculum. How do we deliver a relevant curriculum? Well, first thing we have to recognize is that the students that we have, okay, I can do it this way. So the students that we have, as you know, my esteemed faculty friends have talked about how we've got to know our students, and they don't really know the Brady Bunch, right? And we're all struggling with it because we got a few years on it. And fortunately, I have a college-age child who makes it really clear that my references are not funny at all, which is very helpful because I know just don't use them. But it makes me work a little harder. But millennials, they were born between 1982 and 1994. That's the millennial generation. Millennial because they came of age, so to speak, and at the dawn of the millennium. And then these are the older ones. And then the younger ones who are in my classes and our classes today are Gen Zs. And Gen Zs were born late 90s to early teens. What we have found is a paradigm shift from Gen X and baby boomers to these folks. We, maybe as Gen Xers and baby boomers, thought a lot about big companies. You get into a company, you make it happen, you get in their training program, you work hard, you climb the corporate ladder, all of those assumptions that we lived on for many, many years. Well, big companies aren't hiring very much. Big companies are announcing layoffs. So we realized that the environment is different. And what the students want, where they're coming from, is they're very interested in small businesses, starting their own business, being their own boss. These are the things that we hear again and again. So, it's this question of we can meet them at this time, at this place where they're at. And that's how I'd like to just begin. So how do we do it? I'll just give you a quick example of one of the ways that we integrate entrepreneurship into the curriculum. Here. So we go through some statistics. We say the dream, as many people define it, is to become an entrepreneur or to gain employment in a small business, an entrepreneurial venture. So it doesn't necessarily have to be one person as sole proprietor. It might be 7 co-entrepreneurs graduating together, launching their business. So we see, and then we talk reality. 85 of new business ventures fail. 85% fail within the first year of liftoff. So the harsh reality is this is logic, most new ventures will fail. And we have to start from that standpoint. It might sound a bit pessimistic, but I think it's realistic. I'm just going to tell you the way it is, you're probably not going to succeed. Now prove me wrong. Tell me why you'll do it differently than the 85%. So this is what we talk about, really the first sessions of the first course, Intro to Business Management, in our curriculum. So this is a major topic. So we get them involved in doing something that's really, really hands-on. And I'm going to try to get to the first assignment here. So we all as faculty love those opportunities where we can take our students on field trips or send our students out on, special projects. The interview with the entrepreneur, so it's 10% of their grade, it's due in the first 2 weeks of class. So it's immediate immersion in active learning. They have to go out with questions that were generated through class discussion. I don't supply a list. They usually fall along these, sort of lines. What was your motivation for starting your own business? What was the biggest challenge? Greatest rewards? What would you say to a person considering entrepreneurship? So this is built right into the first course that they take in their career. This is just one way we do it. Then we do it another way. We do it through something called a simulation, which is going to be here somewhere. Yes, it's called Biz Cafe. So this is also within the first 3 weeks or so. We're talking about, I really think that the key to retention is to make sure you grab students very, very early in the game. And by that, I mean within the first 3 weeks. I think a lot of their ideas about their place are formed in those first weeks. So the simulation is different now, team-oriented. You have to choose teams to go about the online simulation, which is basically running a coffee shop. It's all created as a virtual environment, running a coffee shop and making decisions about where to invest money, marketing, where are you going to grow, are you going to stay small? And they make decisions week by week for 8 weeks. That's the arc of this assignment. So in the results, as far as profitability or the other metrics, they're interesting, and I get those reports, but the most important thing is they're doing something. So we go from individual to team orientation, and again, over those first 8 weeks, they're going to have these results. Okay, moving along, I'm going to just see if I can do this. So I want to make you aware of how we're building this theme of entrepreneurship, building it into our curriculum. We're in the midst of developing a new course altogether called Managing a Small Business. This is in its early stages, but this is going to be a novel addition to our curriculum. It's not going to have prerequisites. It could sometimes block people out if they haven't taken other courses. They don't have to be business management majors. And we're all really looking down at this possibility that people who are in art therapy or psychology might want to minor in business because they may want to go out as therapists and open their own businesses. So the idea is this has broad reach potentially, and the minor will be called, again, this is still development, business practice minor. And again, it's open to any major. So I think we're really trying to bring interdisciplinarity into the work that we do. And I had to use that word because that's a lesser word. Interdisciplinarity. I don't say it anywhere else. And so I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you for your attention, and here's my colleague.
Thanks, Robert. Next we have Dr. Lisa Fiore, who is the Department Chair of the School of Education.
Are there any education alumni in the room? Wonderful. So thinking about this group, first of all, I just want to say, lest you think we work in silos and never actually interact with each other. This is so delightful outside of meetings where we sit together, but also just to note that Catherine and I collaborate on the child homelessness certificate program, and Jason and Trina and I collaborated during the Violence Against Women conference and exhibition, and also on the themed issue of a journal for the Violence Against Women journal. Bob and I labored together for years building the first year seminar program for all of our students, and Maureen and Lorraine were actually related distant cousins, we learned through a DNA search. Spooky but fun. And go Austria, Hungary, Eastern Europe.
Galicia.
But we weave together our expertise and our personalities and our love for the students and the work that we do here every day in whatever ways that we encounter each other. So it's truly a privilege to sit together and share with you all some of the things that we're doing. So for education, those of you who are working in the field or have worked in the field of education, there's the pendulum that swings, and sometimes it goes one way, or phonics approach, or language approach, or it's a scary time right now, I think, for a lot of students who have aspired to be teachers, whether you're worried about working in a state where you can't talk about facts, you're not allowed to talk about history, you're not allowed to talk about identity, you could be fired, you could be harmed physically, that's scary. Students are worried about guns in schools. We never had to think about, what do you do if you're in a classroom teaching and so we weave together trauma and thinking about how do you factor self-care into your teacher preparation program. That's something we might not have thought about years ago, and while it's hard and unfortunate, I think this type of humanity has been with us since the dawning of time, right? We know humans demonstrate different behaviors, and we rise to the occasion through relationships with others, and we pride ourselves on being responsive to students' needs here at Leslie. So I wanted to share with you, thinking about some new, fresh things that we're doing, recognizing that children are part of a system. And remember Bronfenbrenner, Yuri Bronfenbrenner's theory? So thinking about your family, working within another concentric circle, including the neighborhood and the school and Dearborn, et cetera, all these concentric circles. So we are partnering with, where's Emma Stellman? Emma, our director of the Office of Partnerships, she was here a moment ago speaking with Leslie Priesel, who took the child homelessness course at Cumberland Community College. All of these networks, so thinking about how we can get our students into classrooms, working with professionals to address the needs of the populations in the greater Boston, Cambridge area. So one thing I'd like to mention, our colleague Sonia Perez-Villanueva could not be here today, but she has created a certificate program that is known by the acronym PLACE, which stands for Professional Languages and Community Engagement, where we will be focusing on Spanish and Portuguese, and then Haitian Creole and Mandarin, recognizing that these are the languages that students and families who are not native English speakers speak most in the region. So students who are working in education and social work and psychology and applied therapies will be doing their internships and field placements in classrooms with practitioners who work with populations who speak these languages. So students will not simply take Spanish 1 and 2, for example, but they'll be taking a course that's specifically developed to talk about culture and community and bring students into connection and collaboration. What's the word? Community connection. So that when they leave Leslie, they have the academic vocabulary as well as the community relationships to be successful in their careers. We're also thinking about ways, because educators are, again, working within these systems, to find touch points along the ways for students who enter as perhaps an early college student, so high school student through perhaps community college, through a bachelor's completion program or traditional bachelor's program, and then into a master's degree program. And along the way, they wouldn't even know that they're attaining these endorsements and certifications in the areas of, for instance, a CDA or a I can't think of it'll come back to me, but working in jobs as family liaisons or a child homelessness liaison for the cities that are adjacent to us. We're in Cambridge, but also Somerville. I can't think of the word internship now, but gosh, it's escaping, but it's related to social work, so it'll come to me as soon as Lorraine takes the microphone. But the acronym that we've designed for this is CHILD, and it's cultivating hope through interdisciplinary learning and development. So finding new ways for us to weave together our expertise and capitalize on what we've done for over 100 years in teaching educators how to work with children and families. So I always find myself very proud. I saw Edith Leslie's visage back there. I'm very proud to, continue the tradition that Edith started here many years ago, and truly in the spirit of uplifting children and families, but recognizing what a difference human relationships can make. So in a classroom with children or in these relationships where the ripples continue, I'm just really proud to be a part of the community, and I'll look forward to hear what questions you might have moving forward.
Thank you, Lisa. And last but certainly not least, we have Dr. Lorraine Greenfield, Professor of Curriculum and Instruction, and she's also the Program Director for the Individually Designed Program. Would you like to stand up, or?
Can you hear me? I was a 7th grade English teacher for 21 years, and no one ever complained that they could not hear me. Recently, I'm a political junkie, and I was watching CNN, and I heard a man say that the American dream was dead. And I thought, what are you talking about? And he reflected that for generations, America was the land of opportunity. There was this big idea of the American dream, that anyone could achieve anything if you were willing to work. America, indeed, was the place where those dreams could come true, and now that was no longer true. Well, I'm going to counter that argument and tell you a brief story about how Leslie continues to develop the American dream. When people wistfully talked about the American dream, they probably knew some people who had succeeded, overcame poverty, survived many hardships, and had little education. Generally white men, a few white women, and probably no women of color, no people of color. That was then. This is now. Please let me help you dispose of the notion that the American dream is dead. Indeed, it is not. It is alive and well and thriving at Lesley University, and through a bit of serendipity, it exploded onto our campus. One of the longest serving school committee members in the United States, a member of the Cambridge School Committee, a man named Fred Fantini, had a dream. He hoped that paraprofessionals, the folks who work in almost every classroom in the country, who help the children who have the greatest needs, he wanted to support those folks, the hourly workers, so that they could gather enough education and make their dreams come true, earn a master's degree, and matriculate for a teaching license in Massachusetts. He tried several times to meet people at Lesley. Everybody was very busy. He managed to find my phone number. And he approached me with the idea, knowing that I am at the Graduate School of Education and do a lot of the work with supervision and seminars of graduate students who are ready to go into this field but need their practicum and seminar. And we discussed his idea that the Cambridge Public Schools would pay for up to 20 paraprofessionals to complete a master's degree in elementary education through an off-campus LED program. After many, many meetings, big things like this are never easy, Lesley and the Cambridge Public Schools created a cohort of paras from Cambridge, and after 22 months, they recently completed their elementary ed Masters of Education. They graduated Saturday, May 20th, and recently received their licenses from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Let me assure you that there were tears of joy everywhere. 18 paraprofessionals started and 14 graduated. 13 women, 1 man, mostly immigrants from Central America, the Caribbean, and South America. and a few born and raised in the Boston area. All were the first in their families to complete a bachelor's degree and now a master's degree, and the first to become professional educators. I don't know about you, but I call that aspiring for and reaching the American dream. It's not dead, folks. The American dream is alive and flourishing. It has just broadened its reach. Immigrants, people of color, and those striving for a better life in the US. And Lesley University, your alma mater, made it happen. You should all be very proud of your alma mater and what it stands for.